Hi, my name is Michael Massman. I'm an attorney with Neighborhood Legal Services of Los Angeles County. And this presentation is about Chapter 7 bankruptcy and the reaffirmation process. This presentation is meant to be information. It is not legal advice. If you need legal advice on your own individual case, you should consult an attorney. So before we talk a little bit more specifically about reaffirmation, it's important to understand secured debt in the context of a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Chapter 7 bankruptcy can relieve you of your personal obligation to pay many debts. However, if you owe a debt that's secured by property, often a car loan or a debt for an item like a piano or jewelry, you can't simply discharge that debt and walk away. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and you have some options. So before talking a little bit more about reaffirmation, let's just look at those options. The first option is to surrender the vehicle or other item of personal property. That simply means you return it to the lender and you can walk away owing nothing. A second option is to redeem the car. That means you buy it back at its current market value, and this may be useful if you owe a lot more on the contract than what the car is worth. A third option, and the one we'll talk about a little bit more in the coming slides, is a reaffirmation. A reaffirmation is essentially a new contract. Finally, there's the ride-through. Ride-through is where you simply continue paying on your car and maintaining your insurance. So let's focus a little bit more on reaffirmation. Reaffirmation is agreeing to pay a debt that would otherwise have been discharged in bankruptcy. And it's often very useful for keeping an item that you still owe money on. Usually this is a car. Like I said, it could be a musical instrument, appliance, electronics. But it's useful if you owe money on an item that can be repossessed, and if you want to keep that item, you have to continue paying on it. So, in order to do this, the debtor must ask for judicial approval of their reaffirmation agreement. Now, it's important to note that at least here in the Central District, the court will not approve or deny a reaffirmation agreement for a mortgage or a lease. The court only considers approving or denying reaffirmations on items of personal property. So how does reaffirmation work? Well, the first step is when you're filing bankruptcy, you indicate on a statement of intention form what you intend to do with secured property. If you select that you would like to reaffirm your debt, the lender will send you a new contract, a reaffirmation agreement. If you sign and return that to the lender, then a reaffirmation hearing will be scheduled. Some of you may be watching this for the very first time right before your hearing. So let's talk a little bit about what's at stake at the hearing. At the hearing, the judge is going to determine or decide whether or not the reaffirmation agreement poses an undue hardship on you and is in your best interest. Now, why is the judge asking this, you may ask? Well, it's because bankruptcy is set up to give the individual debtor a fresh start. And by that, we mean you should be walking out of bankruptcy, ideally, not owing any money. But if you reaffirm a debt, then you walk out owing money. So the judge is going to ask questions to determine whether or not the reaffirmation agreement poses an undue hardship on you and is in your best interest. Some of the questions the judge might ask include, what is your interest rate? What is your income as it relates to your expenses? How much do you still owe on the car? What condition is the car in? And who drives the car? It's important to note also that you don't have to sign a reaffirmation agreement. Certainly not as is. So one option is to negotiate different terms. If you'd like to do that, at your reaffirmation hearing, you can ask the judge for a continuance. This will give you more time to reach out to the lender and try and negotiate. The judge will give you a date for a month or two from now. It's important to note, though, that the judge is not going to be a party to any negotiation with the other side. That said, some of the points that you may wish to negotiate are very similar to what the judge might ask you in court, such as a lower interest rate, a lower balance due, or maybe a change in the payment schedule. It's important to keep in mind that you don't have to reaffirm the debt. And even if the judge doesn't approve your reaffirmation agreement, you still may be able to keep your car. So what does it mean then if the judge approves or disapproves your reaffirmation agreement? Well, it has a lot more to do with the contract. If the judge approves your reaffirmation agreement, this means that you owe the total amount on the contract, which may be more than what the car is worth. If the judge does not approve your reaffirmation agreement, then you don't have to worry about that. Now, this is commonly called a deficiency judgment. And a deficiency is the amount of money that you still owe after an item such as a car has been repossessed and sold, and the lender has that money. Let's look at an example, an illustration. So let's say you owe $20,000 on a car. You miss a payment or two. The lender is going to repossess that car, and the car is worth $10,000. The lender takes the car, they sell it for $10,000, but you still owe another $10,000 because you signed a contract saying you'd owe $20,000. Well, if the judge reaffirms your agreement and you still owe on the contract, then you may not be getting the exact fresh start that bankruptcy is meant to give you. If you want to keep your car, the most important thing you can do, regardless of whether the judge approves or disapproves your reaffirmation agreement, is to continue making your payments on time and to keep your insurance current. If you do this, then regardless of whether the judge approves or disapproves your reaffirmation agreement, you may very well be able to keep your car. You should also know that you can change your mind. Even if the judge approves your reaffirmation agreement, you have a change of heart, you can still cancel. However, you have a limited time to do that. You must do that either before you receive your discharge or within 60 days from the filing of your reaffirmation agreement, whichever one of those occurs later. If you have questions about this or you'd like legal help, you're welcome to reach out to Neighborhood Legal Services. See here our phone number, our website, and our email. Thank you for listening. I hope this presentation has been helpful.